Why financial stress doesn't always come from low income. Have you ever noticed something strange? Some people earn $40,000 a year and seem relatively calm about money. Meanwhile, someone earning $90,000, $120,000, or even more is constantly stressed. They're worried about bills. They check their bank account every few days. They feel trapped, despite earning what most people would consider a good income. At first glance, this doesn't make sense, because we've been taught that financial stress comes from not earning enough. But what if that's only part of the story? What if financial stress has less to do with income and more to do with what income quietly commits you to? Let's look at a common example. Imagine a 29-year-old professional living in a large American or European city. They have a stable job. After taxes, they bring home around $4,500 per month. That's not wealthy, but it's certainly not poverty. On paper, life should feel manageable. But now let's look closer. Rent is $1,600. A car payment is $450. Insurance, fuel, and maintenance add another $250. Student loan payments take $300. A credit card balance requires $200. Utilities, internet, subscriptions, and phone bills total another $300. Groceries cost around $500. Suddenly, almost $3,600 is gone. And that's before restaurants, vacations, clothing, gifts, social events, or unexpected expenses. The person isn't irresponsible. They're simply participating in what modern life quietly expects. A reliable car, a decent apartment, a few streaming subscriptions, a smartphone upgrade every couple of years, the occasional weekend trip. Nothing extreme, nothing that would seem reckless. Yet despite earning a respectable income, they finish most months with very little left. And that's where financial stress often begins. Not from low income, but from a lack of margin, because stress isn't created by how much money comes in. It's often created by how little remains after commitments. Let's make the math even simpler. Imagine two people. Person A earns $3,000 per month and spends $2,500. Person B earns $6,000 per month and spends $5,700. Who feels more financially secure? Most people immediately point to person B, but person A actually has a larger safety cushion relative to their lifestyle. Person B earns twice as much, but they've also built a life that consumes nearly everything they earn. One unexpected repair, one medical expense, one period of unemployment, and suddenly the pressure begins. This is something many people never realize. As income rises, expenses often rise with it. Not because people become careless, but because their definition of normal changes. The apartment gets slightly nicer. The car gets slightly newer. The holidays become slightly more expensive. The social circle starts spending a little more. Each decision feels reasonable on its own, but together they create a lifestyle that requires constant income just to maintain. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as adaptation. Humans quickly become accustomed to improvements. What felt luxurious last year becomes ordinary this year. And once something feels normal, giving it up feels like a loss. That's why financial stress can remain surprisingly high even as income increases. The problem isn't always earning too little. The problem is that expenses expand until they compete with income. Over time, this creates another issue. Opportunity cost. Let's say someone spends an extra $800 every month maintaining a lifestyle they barely notice anymore. That's nearly $10,000 per year. Over 10 years, that's $100,000 before considering any investment growth. Most people don't feel the cost immediately because it arrives in small monthly payments. A nicer car, a larger mortgage, monthly subscriptions, financing plans. The money disappears quietly, but the long-term effect can be enormous. And this is where financially intelligent people often think differently. They don't necessarily avoid spending. They don't live in tiny apartments or refuse to enjoy life. What changes is how they view commitments. They understand that every recurring payment reduces future flexibility. Every fixed expense creates a responsibility for their future self. So instead of asking, "Can I afford this today?" they often ask a different question. "How much freedom does this cost me tomorrow?" That's a subtle shift, but it's a powerful one. Because financial security is rarely about having the highest income in the room. It's about creating enough space between what you earn and what you need. That space becomes your flexibility. your ability to handle surprises, your ability to change jobs, your ability to take opportunities when they appear, and perhaps most importantly, your ability to sleep without constantly worrying about money. So if you've ever felt stressed despite earning a decent income, it doesn't automatically mean you're failing. It may simply mean that your financial commitments have grown faster than your financial margin. And once you understand that difference, money starts looking a little clearer. Not as a measure of status, not as a measure of success, but as a tool that can either create flexibility or quietly remove it. If you found this perspective useful, consider subscribing for more thoughtful discussions about money, psychology, and long-term wealth.